this party up.
We're doing an unprecedented third installment on today's episode. You guys really loved all the tasty hoots and hot cans in parts 1 and 2, and with the Fate of the Furious coming out next week, we kind of don't have a choice. Much like the Fast and Furious movies themselves, it seems that us having to do more episodes on them is never going to end.
You get style points for that one.
It's not soul-crushing. Here are 7 more things you didn't know about the Fast and Furious movies. Probably.
I'm Mr. Nobody.
It's a big entrance for a nobody.
Kurt Russell's Mr. Nobody in Furious 7 is rumored to have a much larger role in the Fate of the Furious, but you probably didn't know that Mr. Nobody could have been played by Denzel Washington. The studio wanted him for the part, but Denzel turned it down. They also considered Halle Berry before Kurt Russell was finally cast. The main idea was the studio wanted a big name so they'd have some star power already in place when Mr. Nobody is more in the forefront in the upcoming film. After all, they wouldn't want some C-lister screwing up the beer commercial that happens in the middle of their movie.
Would you like one?
More of a Corona man myself.
Oh, God, let's move on. You remember this part from Furious 7 with Hobbs watching a football game in the hospital when it quickly gets cut off by breaking news? Well, I'll bet you didn't know that The Rock was actually watching one of his own college games. The game playing on the TV was from his days at the University of Miami, and he's the number 94 the announcer is talking about sacking the quarterback right before the news interrupts. So, now you know that. Next thing. The summer movie season unofficially kicked off with Logan, and it'll be fully underway with the Fate of the Furious.
Oh, damn!
What most people don't know is movies from the Fast and Furious and the X-Men franchises have almost always been released in the same years. It started with X-Men 2 and Too Fast, Too Furious in 2003, and their cycles more or less stayed in sync from there on out, with The Last Stand and Tokyo Drift both in 2006, X-Men Origins Wolverine and Fast and Furious in 2009, X-Men First Class and Fast 5 both in 2011. It only fell out of sync when the release of Furious 7 was pushed from 2014 to 2015, meaning it wouldn't line up with X-Men Days of Future Past. But hey, they're still 5 for 6, which is f***ing most of them.
We have got company. Taxi.
It recently became technically accurate to say Academy Award-winning film Suicide Squad.
For Suicide Squad, Alessandro Bertolazzi, Giorgio Gregorini, and Christopher Nelson.
So you might be surprised or enraged to hear that the phrase Golden Globe-nominated film Furious 7 is equally true. It was the first film in the franchise's history to earn such a nomination, and it's definitely worth mentioning that the nomination was actually for Best Original Song, because it sure as shit wasn't for Best Screenplay or Acting.
Well, it's hotter than I thought it would be. Yeah, well, we are in the desert, so it would be hot.
Oh no, I ain't talking about the weather.
Song in question was See You Again by Wiz Khalifa and Charlie Puth, and no, we can't play it because the YouTube bots will ruin us. So let's just move on. We mentioned earlier that Kurt Russell was almost Denzel Washington, but an even bigger what if was that The Rock was almost Tommy Lee Jones.
Jesus! Harold Christ on a rubber clutch, is this happening to me?
Agent Hobbs was originally going to be a much older character, and Tommy Lee Jones was the prototype. The reason they switched from Jones to The Rock? Facebook. Evidently, some fan said on Facebook that he wanted to see Vin Diesel square off against The Rock on screen. Diesel saw the comment, took the idea to Justin Lin when they were filming Fast 5, and the rest is history.
You're going down, Toretto.
I'm right here.
Now with Vin Diesel, The Rock, Tyrese, Jason Statham, and Jaimin Hansu, Fast and Furious movies have a 100% market share of bald beefcake actors.
Hey, Mia, you better hide your baby oil. I'm just playing.
You better hide that big-ass forehead.
I was just joking.
We covered in our previous episode that Tokyo Drift actually takes place between Fast and Furious 6 and Furious 7. And if you've seen all the films, you already know how that all works out. But from a cohesion standpoint, it almost didn't. The scene with Vin Diesel in Tokyo Drift was only crowbarred in after really poor test screenings of Tokyo Drift.
You know this ain't no 10-second race.
I got nothing but time.
Diesel agreed to appear in the film if Universal agreed to give him the rights to the Riddick franchise, rights which he then used to make Riddick in 2013. Not a bad deal for half a day's work. For those of you who are wondering why they keep making these movies, well, I'm currently wondering why you would still be watching this video. The point is, the Fast and Furious franchise is ridiculous, but it's also ridiculously profitable. Let's talk numbers, because they just keep going up. Furious 7 made $384 million worldwide on its opening weekend. That's more than what the first film made in its entire theatrical run. And make no mistake, the first film was no dud. It made $207 million worldwide. Furious 7 also has the distinction of being the first film in the franchise to make over $1 billion worldwide. It's the second highest grossing film in the entire history of Universal, the first being Jurassic World. There's more. Furious 7 also reached the $1 billion milestone faster than Avatar. It was the fastest film to make that much money until it was dethroned again by Jurassic World, which was soon dethroned itself by Star Wars: The Force Awakens. And as of this episode's air date, Furious 7 is still the 6th highest grossing film of all time, which means there's probably no end in sight for these films. Which also means I think I need a drink. Maybe a Corona. Wait, no!